Joseph, I think, gives us the key. When Potiphar's wife comes at him, he doesn't give her a lecture about her workplace harassment, okay? He doesn't try to debate the ethics. He says one thing: how could I do this great wickedness against God? And he runs the heck away.
Welcome to the Step Up Podcast, where our goal is to help you step up in every area of your life. I'm your host, Josh Thomas, and I'm joined by my pastor, Chris Kouba.
Did I hear you say that you have worked at a tire shop before?
This is true. My uncle owns a tire shop, and during COVID, when no one was taking anybody for work, I just knew that I could go work with him, and so I did that.
So do you know, the tires, I'm guessing.
Oh.
Do you know cars, though?
Yeah. So my dad is a mechanic, if you will. My uncles are all mechanics. Like that's what they do. Like you pull into, especially on my dad's side, you pull into like their driveway and there's at least 2 or 3 hoods like open and them just like tinkering around with like something. So yeah. So I've been
if something happens to your car, what do you do?
Now, because I got one of the new fancy cars or whatever that's like on the new system stuff.
Flex, okay.
Yeah, okay. I just kind of take it to, I'm like, Kia, do your thing. But if it's like Lily's car, which is a 2013, I'm like, oh, no, we can fix that. Like, just pop the hood. Now, there's a guy in the church who is phenomenal at this stuff, and I trust him way more than I trust myself with it. And so usually we'll just be like, we'll text me like, hey, can you help us with this? And he'll show us what's going on.
Are you a car guy? Like, do you care about cars? Do you get into it?
No, not really. I've got some favorite cars, but not like, I'm not looking into like the engine and all that kind of stuff. No, my dad does though. Like he's all about it. So, oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, my dad never was. He never cared. Somewhat passed it down to me. To me, it's all function. I've got now 5 drivers in our house.
That's crazy.
And in 2 years, I'll have a 6th driver at our house.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, it's just absolutely crazy and all of that. And so my son just turned 16 and started driving. We had an old 2008 Toyota Camry that had like 200,000 miles on it. It's like the perfect first car.
Yeah.
One girl got backed it up into something. The other girl backed up something. It had a lot of character that had been developed into it.
Yes.
So we decided to actually donate that to Cars for Kids. They haven't even responded to us, which I'm thinking means that we didn't get anything for it or whatever. That's totally fine. It's no big deal.
Man.
But we ended up buying Hudson. I had to get Hudson a car. And so I bought him a 2014 Volkswagen Passat diesel, okay, which was the last year they made those diesels before they got in trouble and all that kind of stuff. I used to actually have this car previously and loved it. Like loved the vehicle.
Yeah.
The diesel was pretty awesome, and I mean it was pretty sweet.
So that's what he's driving.
Yeah, 163,000 miles on it.
Okay.
So perfect like. I mean, and you're always risky when you buy a used car, right? I mean, it's always a little.
Oh, it can be a pain.
You never know what you're getting, really. Could this be a lemon? Is it going to be a problem? So I actually bought it from a guy in the church here who, like, kept meticulous records. I mean, like oil change and exactly when he's supposed to, and all that, and kept receipts for every single thing. So, like, when I bought the car,
which is good, by the way,
he gave me like a whole folder of all the things.
Yeah.
So, like, I know this is about as clean and as good of a used car as I possibly can have. And so I was excited about that, but I faced a dilemma. So let me walk you through this and see what you would have done and see if you've ever been there, because it's an interesting situation. So a couple of weeks after we got the car, I had this little oil stain. Okay, it wasn't big; it was a little bitty. He had told me that it was likely there, but it got a couple spots on the driveway, and we're like, I don't want to have that. So we took it in to go get the oil check. Well, there's a mechanic shop close by that I've taken all my cars to and regularly have. And I know that the guy I bought the car from also did as well. But whenever you go and take the car, all of the previous history on the vehicle gets wiped because you're now registering it under your name. Okay. So they know that the car has been there multiple times because they've seen it and it's 163,000 miles, all the different things they've done along the way. But then there's no detailed records. Yeah. But there's the Carfax report, which if you do keep good records, it shows every time it's been in the shop and every time it's had all the different work done. So they come back and call me and say, hey, we figured out what's going on with your deal. It's a crankshaft oil seal, okay? It's going to be over $2,000. And they said, hey, we assume that we did the work. And so we just, because we saw this happen in June of 2014 or June of 2024. So if you just can look and see if you can find the receipt for us and let us know who the technician was, we'll try to touch base with him and try to get him to actually work on it because he's familiar with the vehicle, okay? But we've already ordered the part. It'll be ready in a couple of days. So essentially, I'm going to get the oil problem fixed. That's really all I care about. I don't even know if I said what I just said right.
Sounds correct.
Okay, as a mechanic guy, you know?
Sounds correct.
So I then go and look at my records, and I find that receipt. And it has a different shop at the top of that receipt than the one my car is at the moment.
Oh, boy.
So now I'm in a dilemma. Because I had asked them previously, I said, okay, what happens if I don't find the receipt? They said, no big problem. We'll just assume we did it. We're going to cover it under warranty. Well, I go and look at this receipt, notice that it's a different place. I reach out and say, hey, I've got this issue. This is what I think it is. Can I come in and get the warranty? And they said, I'm sorry, sir, but the warranty is void when you transfer owners of the vehicle. So now I got one shop that has it under warranty that won't do the work. I got another shop that did not do the work, who's willing to warranty it, even though they didn't do the work in the first place. And I got to make a decision. Am I going to bring this up or not? What would you do?
Is this on the record or is this
I'm asking, what would you do?
Oh man, that's tough. I think I would have to do the right thing. I think I would call them and say, hey, we actually got work done at a different shop.
$2,000, bro. Over $2,000. That was my dilemma.
Well, I understand.
And I know they've ripped me off in the past. That was my problem.
I know. Of course.
There's 1,000%. And I'm at a reputable place, whatever else. But there's no question I've overpaid for stuff.
But the tension, though, is I could have easily gotten, you could have easily got, let's just say we could have easily gotten away with that. But I feel like I would have knew about it. I think after the fact.
Okay, that's what I want to talk about today because this particular issue is a big deal when it comes to men because I think we live in a present your best self culture. We live in I've got to make sure everything looks the part. I check off and not a culture that says, which I believe this Bible is encouraging us to. We need God-fearing, holy men with integrity. Like men who do the right thing no matter what. Not when it's politically expedient, not whenever it is convenient, there's so many different things. I feel like we kind of it's almost like we need a PR firm before we make a decision. And I've kind of been wrestling through this idea of just well, what does this look like for us to be men who actually live in such a way where when push comes to shove, because here's the thing, nobody would have known. Nobody would have known. Nobody would have known whatsoever that I lost the receipt or I didn't find the receipt or whatever the case. But I think here's what the haunting thing is, and I would have known.
Yeah, you would have known.
I would have known.
Yeah.
And I think enough times of just kind of not doing the right thing dulls yourself enough to where then, man, you don't even care. It doesn't even make any difference. And that's whenever you begin to see guys make just stupid, epic failures. Yeah. Because essentially it started with one little decision in a seemingly thing that didn't matter that ultimately led to something that was super consequential. I've got some questions that I want to talk through that I want you to ask yourself, men, that can help you determine whether you are a person of integrity. Because what I have found is there's a huge gap between what guys say in private, what guys say in public, and then how they act and who they are in private. Because I get the couples that come into my office and it's like they're a total train wreck, and all along you're thinking, bro, I'd have never seen that. You know what I mean? Like externally, you look great. Like on the surface, you look like you're checking off all the boxes. You look like but this shows tension. There's this dark inner life that unless it's tended to and dealt with, is going to cause some major, major problems.
Okay, so set it up for us then. What do these questions come from?
So
how you been processing through it?
It comes out of this deal. We've been in a sermon series here at the church through the book of Joseph, or through the book of Genesis rather, in the life of Joseph. And man, there's this chapter that I preached on, and I can't stop coming back to. Genesis chapter 39, and it's the story ultimately of Joseph. Joseph receives these dreams and these visions that God had given him whenever he was 17 years old, back in Genesis 37. His brothers end up being like, I don't think so. This is not going to work. The dreams is basically that everybody's going to bow down to him, and they're like, okay, that's not what I want to do. They sell him off into slavery. He ends up rising in the ranks in the Egyptian household, and he basically gets so much credibility and leadership that the only person that he is kind of second in command to is Pharaoh himself. And Pharaoh's wife looks at him and is like, I kind of want you. Like I kind of, and then what we see is this dynamic that plays out that kind of changes really the trajectory of Joseph's life, and then changes a lot of the narrative and the story. But what it does is it helps us see some questions that I think that we should ask ourselves to be more like Joseph. I'm not trying to just kind of say be more like Joseph, but in this situation, you need to be like Joseph.
That's good. Yeah.
Because Joseph is a man who shows what it
100%.
Looks like to answer these questions correctly. Here are the 3 questions, okay? First one is this: what will you do when you have influence over others? What are you going to do with the influence that you have? Number 2, what are you going to do when you want something that you can't have? Number 3, what are you going to do when doing right costs you everything? Because character is not about the big moments. What we see in the life of Joseph, character is like the Tuesday afternoon and no one notices. The little things, it's the me in that moment when I had to decide, what am I going to do with this? Because what I choose to do with this is what's going to be really important about where I am, not what I stand up and say on the weekends.
Man.
And too often, I think guys want to look good in the moment, look good in the when the lights are on, like it's a movie, and when it's actually behind the scenes is really where the character is formed. Let's talk these through.
Yeah.
What will you do when the influence you have? What will you do with the influence you have? Now, I know some of you may be thinking, well, I don't have any influence. Well, first of all, you do. Okay, you got influence over, you got influence over your life.
Yeah.
You got influence probably over your kids if you have kids. You got influence over your wife. You got influence over in your job at some capacity, I'm sure, whether you're in a managerial title or role. I promise you've got some sort of influence.
Yeah.
You've got influence over others. And so I think you've got to think this through. I mean, like, your kids see you every day. Okay. The barista at Starbucks, whether you know their name, probably knows yours.
This is very true.
Because they've either had to call it out or put it up there.
And they do remember, by the way.
We've seen that in a big way for the one over here by the church, right? What are you practically doing with your influence is really the big question.
Yeah. So what is it like practically?
Okay. So are you using your influence for you to lord over others, or are you using your influence in order to bless others? There's a guy at our church, man, I love the man to death. He's one of our key leaders here. And I have watched over the course now of probably 4 to 5 years. COVID was definitely the start of it, so 5 years ago. But you can even argue, even since then, there's been some things that have come up. His dad had a long-standing, very successful charter business. And he not only took it over, took it to kind of new heights and did some great work and all of that. COVID, of course, was a big issue. You combine that then with the fact they had some other planes that they normally had access to that obviously they didn't. And it just kind of was one of those things that he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything mismanaged. He didn't have bad leadership decisions. None of those things happened. What you saw was a man who just had to kind of take it on the chin. It just stunk. It just was a season where, man, it just wasn't good. And what I saw was a guy who sacrificed deeply, personally, his own personal finances, his own vacations, his own, all of the perks and things. He's the boss.
Yeah.
But he didn't use being the boss as a chance to make sure I'm good. He used the influence that he had instead to make deep personal sacrifices. I can assure you, most people have no idea the level that he made these sacrifices in order to make sure that his team was taken care of, that he watched out for those people because it wasn't their fault. And to great personal loss himself. I know another guy in our community. He owns a furniture store, and he's very good. We love him to death. Same thing. Again, just got punched in the mouth, got punched in the face. And I think the question you got to ask yourself is, you've all got influence. Are you going to use influence just to make sure I'm good? Or are you instead going to be able to use the influence to be able to try to figure out how to make others' lives easier, how to make other people's lives, their life better? What does this look like in the marriage, in your workplace, with your kids, to where you're living in such a way where you're not lording it over, but instead you're using it as an opportunity to bless others. Here's how I see this in the life of Joseph. You see Potiphar's wife, she's got all the power, and she uses it to try to force Joseph to go and sleep with her. Joseph is second in command, and what it says repeatedly in the beginning there of Genesis chapter 39 is that he was blessed by the Lord, and he blessed the house of Pharaoh. Yeah. So like, he used his blessings not to make sure he was good,
but to be a blessing.
He used his blessings to make sure that he was taking care of everybody else.
So good.
And then he was pouring into everybody else. And I'm just telling you, man, I think when you look at his life and when you think about this, every promotion, every opportunity, every advantage, see that as a chance that God has given you to lift people up.
Okay, so give me a smaller scale example, because I know both of those guys, and that's awesome. And those feel like the big movie moments.
Sure.
You know, what is the Tuesday afternoon, or like what's the Tuesday afternoon?
Yeah,
what's the Wednesday afternoon?
I've probably failed this one, so just straight up.
Okay. Let me guess. Does it have anything to do with sports?
Yeah, you're with your kids. You're at a sports game.
Okay.
And, there's a reason why they're junior high refs, right? I mean, there's a reason why.
Man.
I mean, let's be honest.
This is true.
Let's be honest, right? They're
This is
starting
true.
out,
Yeah.
they're not.
Yeah.
If they were better, they wouldn't be repping junior high sports.
This is true.
My kids' sports games, kind of a deal.
Only at your kids' games.
Well, no,
though.
I mean, it's general. And that's no offense to any junior high refs out there. I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, if you wanted to be really good, you wouldn't be doing junior high refs. Okay? That's beside the point. But am I going to show maturity and realize it's junior high and roll with it? Or am I going to lose? I mean, I can't tell you how many guys lose their minds. I haven't radically embarrassed myself. I've said a thing or two, but I'm telling you, you see some guys that do that, and I think that's where it's like, okay, wait a second, be the man, grow up, act in such a way where you're blessing that dude. You're it's probably it's gonna be okay. I promise you. Even your kid's gonna forget the game in an hour.
Yeah. And if it's not that, what I've seen is restaurants. That's a big one.
Oh yeah.
Waiter, waitress, just how you treat them, how you interact, and I've seen that, and I'm like, ooh, I was like, that's gonna cost you in some way.
Am I gonna use my power to bless?
Yeah.
Be the best tipper there is. All right. Be the best. Make it a positive experience. Even if it's bad, at the end of the day, they're gonna be bad days. You've had bad days. They're gonna have bad days. But I do think you need to live in such a way where you model for your family, you model for others what it looks like to be a man who passes that test. If I've got influence, which I do, I got influence, they're serving me.
Yeah.
But I got to figure out ways that I can bless them and
That's so good.
and pour into them and make sure their life's better as a result of being around me.
Yeah, that's so good. And the question whether it's not whether you have influence. I think so many men think that influence is connected to a title or a position. It's no. It's connected to you, your purpose, and what God has called you to do. That's to lead yourself, your family, your kids, in your job, in your workplace, whatever it is. And so you have influence. So the question isn't whether you have influence. It's, are you making people's lives better or worse because of it? And so, PC, what's the second question?
What will you do when you want something that you can't have?
Throw a fit.
Well, I would tell you, this isn't just about material stuff. In the context of Joseph, it's actually all about sexual temptation. I mean, you have this woman who is coming on to you. It says day after day after day.
It's continual.
And here, you ain't getting a ribbon for saying no once. You ain't passing those out. This is a deal. I got to do it tomorrow. I got to do it next week. I got to do it next month. And so the boss's wife is pursuing him. He's a young dude, far away from home, having been sold into slavery. You can kind of justify from a worldly standpoint if it's okay, I'm gonna get mine here real quick.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. It says that he refuses day after day, and it leads to this relentless pressure. Just think about this modern day version of this. you're married, you're struggling financially, you meet someone at work, maybe it starts out innocent, maybe you're just kind of texting about work stuff, and then all of a sudden complaining about your spouse, and then all of a sudden you're kind of sharing your frustrations, and now before you know it, you're emotionally invested in someone who isn't your wife. Nothing physical has happened yet, but here's the thing. If you're not getting your needs met at home, that's a recipe for disaster. Man, we just did 2 old podcasts on a couple weeks ago about this specific issue. And so this is not something that you play around with.
Yeah, it's dangerous territory for sure.
Oh my goodness. But it's not just the sexual temptation piece. Think about this. You're applying for a promotion. You find out that the hiring manager has some, let's say, flexible ethics. Okay. And you could hint that you'd be willing to kind of look the other way on some certain things. Nothing explicit, just kind of like, hey, I'm a team player type stuff. And the promotion would solve a lot of problems.
How do you handle that situation?
Joseph, I think, gives us the key. When Potiphar's wife comes at him, he doesn't give her a lecture about workplace harassment. Okay, he doesn't try to debate the ethics. He says one thing: how could I do this great wickedness against God? And he runs the heck away.
Sounds like he makes it bigger than him, about him.
His no to temptation was birthed out of a greater yes to God. Meaning this, you don't beat desire. You ain't not going to, look, I'm just telling you, I don't care how strong of a man you think you are and how much you love your wife. If you've got a hot woman coming after you each and every single day, you are not going to white knuckle and willpower that thing through. You're going to eventually fall on a bad day because the enemy will be patient and wait you out. But what you got to do instead is sit there and say this: I'm going to have a mindset which says, look, I'm choosing right now. I'm going to honor God. He didn't say, I don't want to do this against you. That was implied.
Yeah.
But it's like, I can't do this wickedness against my God. Meaning he had a higher motivation, a higher priority, a higher calling. And because of that, that protected him to be able to say, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Of course not, I'm not doing that. He'd already made his mind up before the decision. Too many guys try to make the call when they're in the bedroom with the door closed saying, do you want to? You lost, man. It's over. Game over. You say no 15 steps before you get there. The same thing true, not just from a sexual standpoint, but even more outside of that. I'm gonna live a life of integrity. I'm gonna live a life of purity. I'm choosing that right now. So therefore, when there's something that comes up that is contrary to that, that check in my spirit's going to be there. I'm going to recognize, oh, I don't want that. Like I'm out. And so I think this is so vital for you to realize that you got to choose God now.
Yeah.
Like wherever you're listening to this, if you're in the car, if you're working out, you just push pause. And you stop and say, God, I choose you right now.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's coming in an hour. You don't know what's coming in 2 days. You don't know what's coming in 2 months. But what you do know is you need to make that decision ahead of time and choose the greater yes so that when I get there, I can swat away that no. This is also something to note. This is important. I'm sorry. Let me jump in here.
You're good.
This is the one specific area of sexual temptation where we're not told to fight. Okay, we're told to flee. Get the heck out of there. Get the heck out of there. Get away. I don't care what you act like an idiot, act weird, act whatever. Like the women at the workplace need to think you were weird. That's a win. Okay, because I'd rather be weird and married, okay, than cool and not. And so you've got to. I want to plead with you, men. We talked about this a lot, but there's too many times we see it. It happens all the time. I had heard about a situation literally yesterday where this is the case, and I'm just telling you, you got to make sure that you flee sexual immorality in every way.
PC, what does this practically look like?
What I mean,
when you say flee,
get out of there.
Get out of there.
Walk away.
Okay.
Leave the situation. Put yourself with accountability measures in place that seem old school and that seem out of touch in reality to what it is today. If it feels that way, it's probably good. Meaning this, don't have accountability. Let's say you're going to be in a situation where you're going to be with somebody else that could be a compromised situation. Let somebody know, hey, FYI, I'm doing this. Or let your wife know. Well, like make sure you've got, my wife could find me anytime she wants to right now, right? I mean, I'm not, she can get my phone. She can access and look at any of my text messages. I mean, some of those types of things, like parental controls don't just need to be for kids. Parental controls need to be for some of you men listening, right? and put these measures in yourself. Listen back to some of our old podcasts that we've talked through about this issue. We give you a lot of specific things to help protect you from sexual temptation specifically.
Man, it's good. PC, what's the last question?
What will you do when doing right costs you everything? What will you do when doing right costs you everything? This is interesting because we can handle doing right when it pays off. We can handle it when it's neutral. But what about whenever like you're doing integrity and like it costs you? Joseph does everything right. He refuses the woman. He stays loyal to his boss. He maintains his integrity. You know what his reward was? She falsely accused him.
Yep.
He got thrown into prison, and he's sitting there thinking, this is what I get.
It's brutal.
Here's the temptation that every man faces in this moment, to look back and think, man, I probably shouldn't have compromised. I should have compromised. I shouldn't have been integrity. Look, integrity got me. This doesn't seem to be worth it. But I've seen it over and over again. You have such a small perspective if you're thinking that way. You got to realize God's doing something way bigger and longer than you can imagine.
Yeah. What is that? How would that translate to like a modern day situation?
I got a crazy story. It's a family member, actually. This family member is in real estate. That's kind of his main thing. And he found himself in a situation where he was investing in a couple of kind of side homes. It wasn't even necessarily his main thing, but he was investing in a few side things. And then the market just turned and things kind of went crazy. And there's a bunch of investors that kind of came together on this particular deal. And one by one, they just kind of backed out of the deal. And this family member continued to make the payments. And it got bad. It got real bad. It got so bad that, it was an extreme cost to him, both financially. It was extreme cost to him personally. It was extreme cost to him as well, just because here he's the only one out of all these investors that are still kind of pay the note. And it had just been easier to walk away. And what's crazy was this wasn't even like his main thing that he's good at. This was just a side little deal he was doing. And so it's affecting his main business as well. And what he did is he just kept making the payments. And the chairman of the bank noticed and had a conversation, knew he was a believer, asked him why. And he said, because ultimately he feels like he's got to pay his debts. Yeah. That's what he's got to do. And it'd been easier just to back out just like everybody else, let the deal fall apart, recover from financial blah, blah, blah. And years later, and things turned around, houses finally sold, all the stuff. And there was a deal that was going down. And the last second, one of the investors in this deal backed out of the deal. And he was borrowing money from the bank to do it. And the owner of that bank, because of the integrity of my family member, came up and actually guaranteed the loan and put himself in the mix for it, simply because to honor the integrity that he had years prior. Now, here's the thing. My family member had no idea that that was ever going to happen. He kept paying it when it was of great personal cost. It's easy to be all in and to have integrity when you know it's going to lead to recognition, it's going to lead to success, it's going to lead to favor. For Joseph, he found himself in prison for doing the right thing. My family member found himself very much financially hurt horribly because he was doing the right thing. And what it showed is that consistency of integrity, and God sees that.
That's good, PC.
Like God knows that. He watches that. And so I don't know what that translates for you. Yeah. But some of you may stand up and do the right thing at the work and it still may go bad. Okay. You may have integrity and continue to go and do what God's called you to do and still may not get better. Like the situation may not necessarily improve. Don't think results as the measure of whether you should have integrity or not.
That's good.
Instead, you got to recognize that no, integrity is something that I do when nobody's looking, because I know that I'm looking and I know that God's looking. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah, it's like you almost have to decide, are you going to let your circumstances determine what's right? Or are you going to let what's right determine your circumstances?
Sure.
Which is heavy and big. But I mean, as we've been going through this series, which has been so great, Joseph kind of figured that out in prison, though, didn't he?
Figured what out?
He figured out, like, oh yeah, like if I just remain faithful, if I'm just head down, eventually God's gonna do what God does.
Genesis 50 says he comes to the point where finally his dad had died, and now he's sitting there with the brothers. He had every chance to go ahead and get his revenge. And what does it say? Look, you meant this for evil, but God meant it for good, that many people would be saved as they are today. God used him to do great things. Joseph didn't know that. But instead, what Joseph did is he was just faithful in the midst of it, and then God was able to honor that. I think God is looking, 2 Chronicles 16:9, for the eyes of the Lord search to and fro throughout the whole earth to give strong support to those whose heart is blameless. He's just looking for a man that's basically like, you can choose me.
Yeah.
Like you can use me however you want to use it, big or small or whatever. I'm not doing it for that reason, but instead I'm going to live a life that has integrity. I'm going to live a life that's consistent. I want my private life to look similar to my public life. I don't want to say one thing and then do something else. I instead want to live in such a way where there's wholeness, there's completeness, there's no break, right, between what I do on the podcast, what I do on the stage, and what I do when I go home.
PC, as we wrap up today, I would imagine there's some guys that are probably identifying some of themselves in these scenarios to some degree. What's some next steps for this?
It can either be condemnation, where you begin to feel guilty, man, I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this, or it can be information that you use as a way to then bring it before the Lord and repent. Man, we do not need more bravado. We need more repentance. That's what we need. We need men who realize, like, yeah, man, I'm way too loose in this relationship. And so I'm not going to manage it. I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to make radical actions and steps to do that. I'm going to use my power to figure out ways that I can bless other people. Ask those questions of yourself. What do I do with the influence that I have? If the answer is not bless others, then figure out ways that you practically this week can bless somebody else. Like, you can use the leverage and the influence to be a blessing in their life, to invest in their development, to figure out ways that they can be better. If it's got the whole sexual temptation and the whole, like, what do I do with something that I want but I can't have? Man, you figure out ways that you get away from it. Don't see how close you can get to it before you cross the line. That's the wrong question. You instead figure out how you can get as far away from that line as possible to where you can see it so that you're aware of it, but you also aren't anywhere near it so that you can possibly learn how to go cross it, okay? And then I think that last one then would be is like, hey man, it's not always going to work out. It's not always going to work out. But that's whenever you can understand, what is God's bigger picture here? I'm not going to make every judgment here based on what I feel like in this exact moment. I'm going to choose to follow God, and I'm going to let him write the final chapter of the story.
Man, that's so good. And be encouraged, guys. Like, one of the things that we've talked about so much with Joseph's story, if you've been with us on Sundays, is that the Lord was with Joseph.
Over and over again.
Over and over again.
So good.
Which is so good. And that's probably why Joseph got through it, because the Lord was with him, and the Lord's with you too. And so thanks for listening. Here's a challenge this week. Answer those questions and then share this episode with a guy that just needs to hear it. We've all got influence to some degree that we can steward and that we can use for the glory of God. And you sending this to that guy just may be the help that he needs. And so, and we love to hear stories about this, about how God's choosing to work in your spheres of influence. But until next time, we'll see you. Thanks for listening to the Step Up Podcast. Do us a favor and like, subscribe, and share this episode to help us get the word out. We would love to hear from you. So please leave us a comment and even leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcast. For additional information or to reach out directly, please visit chriskouba.com. That's chriskouba.com. You can also follow Pastor Chris on social media and just search Chris Kouba. Kouba is Kouba. You can also follow United City Church on all socials at United City Church. That's going to be UNTD City Church. Thanks so much.